Hey y'all, what's going on? What is going on? What is going on? It has been such a long time since we recorded anything, put any new episodes out. We started the podcast in 2017, but we're back and better than ever. Season 2, Art of the Funny Girl, Season 2, Episode 1.
It's been a journey, but I'm so glad that we decided to bring this back.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to sharing, where we've been with you guys and all our new endeavors, in the future. So we're going to start this episode off, Episode 1, Season 2.
And the episode is titled The Art of Resilience.
Yes.
Okay?
Because it's been a journey, like I said.
Yes, it has been. And you know what? A lot of you all who follow us on social media and just know us personally, you know the story that we are about to discuss, our journey and where we've been and have been keeping up with us. So first and foremost, we want to say thank you to our loyal supporters and listeners, our family and friends who have supported our podcast since day one and have just been pushing us and propelling us to get back out there and put more stuff out because we needed that. We needed that encouragement, especially after such a trying time. So thank you guys. We checked the insights the other day and it was like some new listeners. We had like 1,000 new listens on the old episode. So we really appreciate that. Really grateful. And yeah, let's get into it. The art of resilience. The art of resilience, period. So Rayna Ford.
Yeah, I guess I'll kick it off.
Rayna, it's called Rayna Ford.
Let me tell you something. Our entire lives, my nickname with this girl has changed so many times. I can't keep up.
Rayna Ford. I call everybody everything. I'm so excited to share. First of all, just briefly. No, well, go ahead. Let's get into the material. Let's get into it, baby.
Well, the reason why we decided to title this episode The Art of Resilience is because in the 3.5 years since our last episode, a lot of things have transpired, including a major event, which was the passing of our dad, who was one of our top inspirations for why we even started the podcast in the first place. And if a lot of you guys remember our first photo shoot and things that we did in the beginning of the podcast, he was the one who took those pictures for us.
Yes, at his house.
He was very involved and very invested in, what we were doing. He started off in radio at WBRU in Rhode Island. And so we kind of always took after him when it came to like media and the arts. So obviously when he initially got sick and then with his passing, it really put a monkey wrench in, what we were doing with the podcast as well as our lives. The podcast was just like a casualty that kind of happened along the way.
Yeah. So we started the podcast originally in 2017 and our dad was, he fell sick in 2018 and he was actually diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, in 2018 after being in the hospital for 37 days. He was there 37 days straight, just trying to figure out what was going on with him. The doctors were running test after test. And that led to them determining that he had ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It's actually the sister disease to multiple sclerosis. Mm-hmm. And it is a neurodegenerative disease that basically eats away at the nerves in your body. So it impairs the way you talk, the way you walk, everything.
Your muscles and your nerves.
Everything.
Your muscles and your nerves to do everything, including breathing, swallowing, using the restroom, like you name it.
Everything. So your whole quality of life just diminishes. And we moved in together. We all moved in together to take care of him in one house, and it was very challenging. It was a very aggressive disease, and it's something that you don't wish on your worst enemy. A lot of people talk about cancer and stuff like that, and cancer is very serious, don't get me wrong, but ALS is so terminal, and they don't know what causes it, and they don't know what cures it, and so it's hard to even navigate because you don't know what to expect, and so it came out of nowhere, and it was something that we had to really just jump into. It took over our lives, and so Unfortunately, he was diagnosed in 2018. 7 months later, in 2019, he actually passed away on St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, it was just even thinking about it.
I don't think we realized
nuts
the gravity or like what actually happened until after it happened.
Right.
And that's like, that was the craziness about it, because everything was happening so fast and there were so many layers involved.
Yeah.
Like taking care of him, you know, dealing with other family members.
Yeah.
Trying to work out, you know, us as an immediate family, our 2 other sisters and our mom, you know, how we were going to go about merging our lives together under one roof to take care of him, and also balancing, you know, all my sisters have kids, balancing their kids, their lives, work. So it was a lot to think about and a lot to navigate, that it wasn't until after he passed and when the dust was kind of settling a little bit that we were like, what the heck just happened?
It was like a processing. It's been almost 3 years, and I feel like I've just now mentally processed this, like all aspects of it, and also the fact that like grief is very much a journey. It's a journey that is continuous, and it's not just like, you know, one day you're good and then the rest of your life, you know, it flip-flops from being good to not good to, you know, you got bad dreams, and then you're trying to, you know, just recover your life. And so it's just been a great time to take a moment and debrief what happened from sickness to diagnosis to passing.
And it's still surreal, and I don't think, you know,
very much so.
We just had a conversation a couple of days ago, but I also talked to my mom over the phone, and, you know, we were just saying, I don't think we'll ever get to a place where it's like, okay, that happened, he's gone. Almost every other month, we're like, no, that didn't happen for real, because if you ever experienced my dad or even have heard us talk about him, he was a big personality.
Yeah, larger than life.
And you know, he had his ways, you know what I'm saying? He was from up north, and he was a man's man. And so he had his ways about him, but if you ever were in a room with him, you knew he was there. He made sure that he spoke to everybody.
This is what he would do. He would, even when he was in the hospital, he would see somebody, like a random nurse or something. He'd be like, "What's going on, movie star? How you doing, movie star? This and that." Well, everybody was movie star. He go to McDonald's, movie star.
No, he go to McDonald's and said, "I want a cheeseburger, medium well." I'm like, "We're at McDonald's.
How you want a medium well
like,
cheeseburger?"
They're gonna give you like, whatever they got.
He'd be like, throw some extra pickles on there, some extra mayonnaise, make sure it's well coated. I'm like,
I know them folks is like, boy, you gonna get what you gonna get and keep it pushing.
Get out the line.
Get out the line.
Get out the line.
But that's just how he was. So, you know, him not being here anymore, it's a loss that's felt. Not that if he had another personality, it wouldn't be felt because he was still our father, but it's definitely a loss that's felt like
every day. Because he was just one of those people you don't meet every day, you know, and so he has left an imprint on pretty much everybody he's ever met. And there's people that I've talked to that have worked with him and stuff, and they're like, man, like Kevin never met a stranger. That's just how he was. Like he never met a stranger. Everybody, he was always having conversations with people at the bank, at the store, at the Waffle House. That's just how he was. And so very grateful that we kind of inherited that spirit and inherited the way that he approached life. And you know, he instilled so much. He was always knacking and tacking. It was always a lot of knacking and tacking. And so I got it from Safari and one. I'm like, what the heck is knacking? He said,
I was going with it, but I'm like, what the heck?
He said, I can already tell there's a lot of knacking and tacking behind my back. I said, no knacking and tacking. That must be some Jamaican stuff, but I liked it. So, but he definitely was always just making his presence known and always imparting his wisdom in everyone, and including us. So we just wanted to
have a lot of good advice, you know, like, and we find ourselves in situations as you do, navigating throughout life and just figuring things out. And you know, our mom, she's very caring and she's always there for you, but she's more of like an action person. Like if you need her to step in for you, to show up for you,
she's loyal. She'll back you up.
Her love language is
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
and you can always come to my house, and you can always cry on my shoulder, or if you need me to watch the kids, if you need me to, you know, whatever.
She'll be there for you.
She'll always be there for you. My dad was more so, he's gonna give you like word nuggets.
But his was action hand words, because he was the type of person that like you can call him in the middle of the night and he's gonna answer the phone.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of times that I would be somewhere that I probably wasn't supposed to be at, and I would call him, and I know that he would answer the phone. It doesn't matter if it was midnight, 1 a.m., whatever. So he was like both, and those type of people are just irreplaceable, especially if it's your parent.
Yeah.
And it really just taught me a lot about, you know, unconditional love and parenthood. Even loving him back, because he was very hardcore. You know, very hardcore.
Yeah.
Very.
Like I said, if you met him, you'll be able to receive like everything we're saying. Like, he was a phenomenal person, a phenomenal dad, and he loved us in the way that he knew how. But you know, it's challenging when you have 5 daughters and you're the only man in the house. You have a wife, so there definitely were. You don't have the maturity when you're a child to really accept your parents, like understanding that they're not just your parents, but they like are people too,
yeah.
And they lived a life, and they've had traumas, and they've had experiences, and they've loved and they've lost. You can't take all that in. You're just like, this guy's getting on my nerves. So
it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, but like now, you know, the one blessing that I can say, not a blessing that he's gone, but it's given like a reprieve to be able to look back on him and his life and the way that he tried to parent and the way that he tried to love us. And now you can take a step back and appreciate it and understand him. Like, I understand him a lot
Hindsight
more.
is definitely 2020.
For sure. And I feel like I understand him a lot more in his death than I really did in his life.
So not to cut you off,
no, you're good,
because I totally agree. In naming this episode "The Art of Resilience," definitely want to talk about the people that really made it possible for us to get through that season when we were moving into that house. First of all, definitely, like you said, our mom, who was just the anchor, the rock. You know, black mamas, there's something to be said about black mamas. Everybody's mama is cool, but black mamas specifically are really like the ones that are the backbone and that keep the children, keep the house. You know,
our mom is so strong sometimes that it's like
it's like stoic. It's like, yo,
it's like she really holds a lot of stuff in. You know, our mom is from the islands. You know, she really has virtually no family in the United States besides us and when my dad was here. So it's like, I don't think I could have done that.
Right. And that's the thing. And she was very instrumental in figuring out what was wrong with him, because she worked at the hospital and still works at the hospital that our dad was in. And so she was really advocating for him, which I admire. And I know we all really admire that she was like, hey, you know, this is my husband and he's ill, and you all need to figure out what's going on with him. Because, you know, sometimes when you go to the hospital and stuff, they try to play you. Like when you're trying to tell them what's wrong with you, they're kind of dismissive.
Yeah.
And so they were being a little bit dismissive, because on the physical you couldn't really tell what was wrong with my dad. So they were just playing scootball head game.
They kept telling us he had something called spinal stenosis. Which they kind of just made it seem like, oh, he was in the military at one point, he played sports. He probably messed up his back, and worst comes to worst, he's gonna have some type of back surgery. And
they said it was back surgery, hip surgery. It was just so much.
But our dad could not get in that doggone MRI machine.
I was not getting in there. Let me just let the minutes reflect.
He couldn't do it.
They told me recently that I was gonna have to get. Well, they said they didn't know if I had to get an MRI or a CAT scan, and I was like, if it's an MRI, I'm gonna flat out tell you I'm not doing it. Period. I'm not doing it, because it's like a casket. It's like a casket.
I've done an MRI twice, and the last time I did the MRI was last year, and it was for 45 minutes. And
you were in the thing in the.
Not only was I in the thing, but it was a brain MRI, so they had my head in a cage. They had my head in a cage, and then once they put my head in the cage outside the machine, then it's put me inside the machine. So my head was in a cage. In this thing.
The thing about cage is really sending me.
It was.
Because I just see this like.
It was a white cage.
This like astronaut.
It was screwed on the side, and the lady had the nerve to give me a button. It was like, you know, if you start to panic or something.
It was like a panic button.
Yeah, she was like, you can press this button.
Baby, I would have been in there like. Let me out, please. Let me out.
So, the only thing about that was the only way I got through it was I had to just keep my eyes closed. The entire 45 minutes, I did not open my eyes. And honestly, initially when I was waiting for the machine to start, I had the most anxiety then. But once the machine started and it started making like a buzzing noise, I don't know, for some reason that was more calming to me.
Yeah, because it's probably like white noise.
Silence. Yeah, the silence was like oh my God. I was like this on the button, like I'm about to press the button.
It's giving silence on the lambs.
Y'all have to forgive me. I have to if y'all hear me sniffling on here.
You know it's that season where everybody got a little sniffle.
And I'm trying so hard, y'all, I promise. But
yeah, so anyway, I wanted to jump into how, you know, our whole podcast is the art of the funny girl, and what we've learned throughout our life is to take really traumatic events or just things that are not that pleasant and try to find the silver lining and try to kind of throw some humor in there, because there's always something you can look back on and be like, you know what, that was kind of funny. And so with that being said, definitely when we had our dad's funeral, okay, this ties into the podcast for sure. We were, like I said, we had just kicked off the podcast in 2017, so it was, you know, a lot of our family members and people all over had been listening to us. Thank you. Yeah. And when we were at the funeral,
first of all, the funeral was in Rhode Island, which is where my dad was born and raised and where we're from. So we had to fly up there for the funeral.
Yeah.
And we haven't lived in Rhode Island since 2001. We've been in Atlanta.
Yeah, it was definitely 7 and 8.
We know our close family members, but there were a lot of people at the funeral that we have never met before, never seen them
don't know us, don't care to know us.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the environment where we were walking into, almost like we were the guests. Like,
yeah, it was very. Let's pause to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, the funeral was not.
It was very much.
It was very traumatic, and it didn't allow us to like grieve.
No, not at all. And I say that, you know, looking back on it, I thank God for growth and being able to reflect on that particular time. But I definitely felt like we were like strangers in our own dad's funeral.
It was bad.
And it just felt like, you know, everybody, like, we're all a community. We know Kevin, and we knew Kevin, and it's like, oh, these are his kids over here.
Yeah,
when in actuality, our dad has lived in Atlanta for 20 some odd years and had a whole life here and was a part of a church here and, you know, raised us here. So in actuality, it's like, no, you haven't seen him since he was like 21 years old. Yeah, you know? So it just made us feel like strangers.
It was so bad that we didn't have the opportunity to go to our dad's repast. To this day, neither Laurel or myself have seen my dad's headstone, grave, or anything like that.
I actually choose not. I mean, I'm still a flight attendant, so I definitely fly and everything, but I've chosen not to go there for a particular reason because it's so triggering. I think going there in general is very triggering, and also just seeing his stone to me is very like final, and I'm not really ready to like lay hands and lay eyes on it. So I'm just like, okay, I'll leave that for a different time. But I will say that Jace often asks, she's like, we need to go put flowers at Papa's grave, Mommy. Yeah, and so to have
come on,
to tell an 8-year-old, see an 8-year-old telling you that, you're like, okay, wait a minute. Right. But so we're at the funeral and we have the receiving line. You know, when you're part of the family, people come down and they hug you. Yeah. And this guy comes up to us, and I remember him briefly from our childhood because he's one of our.
I've never seen that man before.
You know him, son. You know him. Never. He comes down the receiving line, and he's like, he's hugging us and everything. He kind of kneels down, so I'm thinking, okay, what is he about to be like? You know, I'm here for y'all if y'all going through da. And he comes to me and Lindsay, and we're standing there side by side, and he's like, hey, aren't you guys the ones that got the podcast? I'm managing this new artist, and I'm thinking he could come.
My daughter's trying to get into the entertainment industry.
He said he managing a new artist, and he want the artist to come be on. He said, I'm managing a new artist, and I want him to come be on y'all's podcast because, you know, I heard that the podcast.
We could not believe it. First of all,
I was stunned.
Laurel's husband, beyond upset. He was like, "What in the world?"
Greg was like, "Sir, first of all, my sweet husband, he didn't even. This was his first time in Rhode Island. First of all, first time meeting everybody in my family, and we'll get into this later. But we had just gotten engaged. We got engaged a week before my dad passed away. So imagine we just got engaged, and the first time he's meeting the rest of my family is at my dad's funeral. So very not. It was not the circumstance that you want to meet any, of your future wife's family members. But then to see this one over here coming talking about, can I put him on the podcast?
It was the most absurd.
My husband was looking like
thing, and we just was like, first of all, you're holding up the line because, mind you,
you're holding up the line.
The whole church is lined up, waiting to come and give their condolences, and you got on your knees trying to whisper.
I'm like, because you're whispering because you know that you're out of pocket, and that's why when
say it out loud. Say it out loud. Then
that's when you know you're out of bounds.
We were just like, my mom was like, "What did he just say?" And then
couldn't even get into
this lady. I don't know if you remember this.
Now, what you got to say?
I don't know if you remember this because this was at the wake. This was the day before. This wasn't at the funeral.
A lot of this is a blur to me. I don't even remember.
Yeah, Laurel was 38 high. I don't think she even.
I'm talking about. I saw black and red the whole wake to funeral to leaving the Rhode Island. So
listen, but this was at the wake. This lady came up to mom and was whispering in mom's ear.
She on the mommy.
Yeah, and the whole time she's whispering in mom's ear, I see mom's face, like her eyebrows doing. So I'm like, what is this lady saying to her?
Girl.
So when she got done, I was like, Mom, what was that about? She was like, this lady said that she went to college with your dad and how all the girls liked him and he was such a good kisser.
No.
Yes.
No.
I said, what? She was like, yeah, that's what she said in my ear. I said, Ma, no, she didn't. She was like, yes, she did.
He was such a good kisser.
Yes.
That makes me want to vomit.
Like, all the girls,
that makes me want to vomit, like, right now.
We are at the wake. My daddy right there.
But first of all, he right there. And
my daddy right there.
This is my mama. What are you talking about? You have no respect.
But she was basically telling her like, oh, you lucked out. Like you became Kevin's wife because
I'm so glad that
Mom was like, I'm ready to go.
That was not shared with me because what are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
ask Mom about it.
I'm definitely gonna have to get the cliff notes from her on this. Because what?
It's almost like people don't know what to say.
Ma'am, if you're listening and watching, I hope someone shares this with you.
Like she's gonna jump in the casket when you're right there.
You're nasty.
Like, what's going on?
And you need to cut it out. That is really ridiculous. So yeah, it was just a very interesting time, and so I would encourage anybody that's going through a hard time. And I know several people who have reached out to me who their parent is currently experiencing ALS, and I man, my heart goes out to them. My heart is just with you. But definitely appreciate the time that you have with that person, with your parent or whomever it is, because looking back on it, it was such a crazy nutso time. Like I just felt out of my mind and out of my body.
It's one of those things
the entire time
that like, and just piggybacking on what you're saying, like really treasuring the time you have when they can like speak and stuff, like when they can, because they can still be alive and like be able to open their eyes, but the way the disease operates, they're still there in their brain and they can hear you and understand, but it just makes them decline in like the way that they can communicate, speaking and doing things on their own. So, a week before our dad passed, he had been transported from Atlanta to Rhode Island to our grandmother's house, and I went to visit him. I think everybody went up there because we were kind of getting the word that he was getting close to that time. Right. So everybody went and tried to see him one last time while he was still alive. And when I went up there, it was just me and him for that whole day. I only went up there for a day or two. No, I went for a day. I slept over, and the next day I flew home. But he had only been there like a week, and the decline was like crazy.
It was it was really
like,
crazy.
When he left Atlanta, I was there the day that he left, and they were taking him on the train and stuff, and he was still talking. I mean, he was in a wheelchair, but he was still talking. He was still able to, kind of move his hands and stuff like that. But a week later, by the time I went up there, I mean, I don't think he really spoke that entire day. And I kind of just spent the day like playing music for him and just trying to let him know that I was there.
was worth it. And
definitely.
I would definitely say that, you know, everybody's process is different, but I would I swear by this, you have to stay grounded in your faith. You have to stay grounded in your faith no matter what, but a lot of times people will ask me what has carried you through, and I will definitely say, like you said, talking with that person and really cherishing those moments and those memories.
Anything you guys need to heal.
That's important.
Yeah.
And not having any regrets. Like I had the same conversation Valentine's Day. My dad passed in March, so Valentine's Day was a month prior in February, and I remember going to see him in Rhode Island as well. And I just told him, I was like, hey, I want you to know you are a phenomenal dad. You gave us everything you had. You were not perfect, but you were present and you were impactful in our lives. And we are the women we are today because we had you as a father, and it really molded us and made us into who we are. And even though this whole situation is going to forever change our lives, we will always be able to bounce back because we have those tools to do so. Like, we know who we are. My dad was very big on affirming us and letting us know who we were.
Yeah. You're an Oliveira. That means something.
That's him. You're my daughter. No. This is what he always be. You're Kevin Oliveira's daughter, and you don't ever let nobody talk.
You're like, who was Kevin Oliveira?
But he knew who he was.
Yeah, but he
was like, I'm that guy, period. And I respect that
I was
energy.
telling Laurel the other day.
He brought some energy to the table.
I don't think I ever really felt like I was like my dad, personality-wise. I felt like Laurel was more like our dad. I was more like my mom in certain areas. I knew that, like, artistically, I got a lot of things from my dad, but I never felt like my personality was like his. And now, I mean, we were already, like, independent on our own, but, like, now you're really out here, right? Because, like, if I don't succeed, I can't really go back to my mom's house and my dad ain't here, so I gotta make it work. So now that I'm out here really having to navigate spaces, I'm like, I am literally this man. Like, I'm literally walking around here and doing stuff and saying stuff and walking in, like,
having his same phrases.
Having his same phrases.
Stay black in the color world.
Yeah, it's like,
that was
it's like, who am I? But you tap, it's like you have a arsenal of tools that I never really had to tap into that because he was here. So he kind of he did it for me. He was able to, you know, show up for me in those type of spaces and be him, and I just got the grace of that was my dad. Now that he's not here, it's like I gotta pull the tools out of the bag, and I didn't even know that I even had that. And I feel so natural. You know, I got to do a big makeup job last week, and it was like a full day, like 12-hour day with, you know, executives and producers. And I called Laurel like, yo, I don't know what got into me today.
The spirit jumped out.
The spirit jumped out, okay? And I was just like everywhere in the building. I'm going on set. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be on set, but I'm acting like I'm supposed to be there. And I'm talking to the camera people, and like the things that were coming out of my mouth, I'm like, okay.
And it's an air of confidence.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so important to, like, imprint that on your kids, like, because you don't even realize, you know, we didn't realize, like you said earlier, it was just our dad. So a lot of times when he's doing all that knacking and dacking, it's like, you're getting on my nerves.
Safari.
But you're getting on my nerves. But you appreciate it when they're no longer here. You have all of that in you. Like, it was drilled in us all the time. And it just taught you not
to be scared. Like,
yeah, like, you can't scare money, don't make no money.
I'm not scared. Like, you might be nervous. You might be nervous.
Now I'm about to tell this real quick so you can just get some perspective. So our dad was really big on pushing us toward our dreams. Again, how we even launched the podcast. And so one particular year we were working at the Soul Train Awards in Las Vegas, because we would work behind the scenes on a lot of shows as with the talent department and stuff like that. So we got our friends together, we got them on board, we got them jobs working at the Soul Train Awards, and my dad was like, he was gonna drive us to the airport and everything. So at the time, he was managing Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles here in Atlanta. He was like the marketing manager there. So he would always be bringing home free chicken and mad chicken. And he was like, do y'all have food when y'all going on the plane? Because y'all know airport food is expensive. And this man ziplocked bags and bags of chicken of Gladys Knight chicken from Gladys Knight chicken. And we're us and our friends, you know, they like, okay, Mr. Kev, thank you, Mr. Kev, for the chicken. We're thinking we're never going to eat this chicken, but you know, whatever, we take it. He takes us to the airport. Yo, we're on the plane.
We're like,
going, who got the bag with the chicken in it? Because
we were so hungry. We were like, dang, that came in clutch.
We have to pay homage and give credit where credit is
Kevin
due.
Joseph Oliveira, our father, who was the media savant. Like
what's a savant?
That just means like a mobile, like a. Como se dice?
I never heard savant. It reminds me of Buffon.
No,
I don't know why.
Savant means like you're an expert, like you're experienced in this area.
Savant. Wait, how do you spell it?
I think it's savant. Savant.
I'm a savant. Classy, bougie. I'm a classy, bougie, ashy.
I'm a savant.
You don't want to be ashy, child.
But he is definitely an inspiration for us.
For sure.
For not only inspiration, but like he cultivated who we are, like,
unknowingly, unbeknownst to us,
and with much resistance.
I'm talking about resistance.
I'm talking about boo resistance.
I'm talking about it wasn't giving what it needed to give, but he kicked in.
He couldn't have been replaced
for sure.
And
can never be.
You know, for me, it's like a sour grape because I know that there's so many things that God has in store for me, for my life, for our lives, that he's not going to be out here to physically experience. You know, like he just shy of making it to Laurel's wedding and stuff like that. So,
and also one thing that he would say that I'm going to take a moment and say is that give your life to Christ. He would go into the Waffle House with a Bible and be like, so who not saved in here? Like that was who I remember after he passed away, we went to the bank to handle some business, and the ladies at the bank were like, we love Kevin, he always used to come in here and pray with us, and he always used to come in here and, you know, with his Bible and have Bible study with us. And so what I've taken from that is you never know when your time is, and we all have to leave this earth. And to me, it really showed like he really came on this earth with a purpose. Like once he gave his life to Christ, it was like everybody that I come in contact with is going to know that I love Jesus Christ, and I'm going to try to impart that in them so that when they leave this earth, they too can go to heaven and experience eternal life. And so for me, I felt like not only did this particular situation expose how much faith I had or needed to have, like the level I need to step my faith game up, but it also showed me like every opportunity you have to share the gospel with somebody else, you need to take it. And lastly, I'll say on that part, it's important to really know what the Bible says for yourself, because that whole situation was so painful that it was like I would tell Greg all the time, I understand now how people get hooked on substances and alcoholism and things like that, because you're in so much internal pain that you're just like, it's human
nature to
want to numb,
to have to need an outlet when you're going through stuff like that. So, you know, I think the best thing our parents did for us was giving us Jesus, was giving 100%. Us God and a foundation, because you know you can go to that. And if we didn't have that, it's your human nature. Like you're not meant to deal with these type of things by yourself. And so people don't have that option, or they feel like they're not conditioned to have that option of spirituality. So now it's the drugs, and now it's the alcohol. Now
and the girls are out here giving
and you know different things.
The girls are giving witchcraft these days. The girls are giving zodiac signs.
Yeah, you know, y'all gotta be careful with these crystals.
The girls are giving. Let me just say, I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. All I'm saying is this: the girls are giving witchcraft, and I can't.
It's a lot of blame.
I can't do the Ouija board. I really feel like, I'm telling you, when you are going through such a trying time like that, we all gonna experience the ugliness of death in some form or fashion. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate reality. But what I can say is that when this was going on, I was very upset with God. I was like, God, now see, because the Bible said never.
Now what verse was it when you said?
Because I'm skimming through I'm searching through the pages.
You said you was gonna heal Job and you restored him. So what happened?
I'm talking about. I was pulling up. I'm like, Lord, you healed the lepers.
Oh,
the lepers got healed. The blind got healed. The people, the spirit was casted out into the pig.
Going back to what you said.
What's going on?
Going back to
what's going on?
Not the pigs.
What's going on with the healing?
Leave the swine out.
What's going on with? No, he cast the demon out and it went to the pigs.
But this is the thing too.
See how God do?
You see
how he
do?
You see how he do? I'm just quoting the word now.
But something interesting that Mom actually said, which kind of, blew me away too. It was like, you have to really have an understanding of what your purpose is too, because sometimes God will give you a vision and a plan, but that's not the end game. It's what you're going to do along the way. That's your purpose. You think that getting to that place and to that point, that's going to be like, oh, my purpose has been reached and I've, but no, it's like, because you're determined to get to that purpose and the things that you're going to do and the people that you're going to touch along the way, maybe that's it. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. And I feel like for our dad, he did so much with his life. Like there's a closet in my house here that has like almost his whole life.
Mine too. It's mad stuff.
He has all types of scripts and
degrees,
articles and degrees.
The degrees was thick, and I'm trying to understand.
But I also think that in all of his accomplishments and the things that he wanted to do in his life, the journey, the places he went, the people that he touched, he experienced that touched him, and that gave him, the drive to become born again, to try to be a better father, having us as his kids. That in and of itself was the purpose. Yeah. That was God's plan.
That was the ministry.
That was the ministry. And so
that'll preach my.
But us still being here and being like his legacy and his lineage, the purpose is continuing because there was a seed imparted on us that we can take what we've learned from him and our relationship with him, and now we're still touching people, and now we're still doing things, and it's still going on. So that it's hard. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to not be resentful. I don't have any kids yet. I'm the only one that doesn't have kids. I'm not married. I have a wonderful person in my life that okay, because I'm finna pull up to the store right now and just pay the rest. Where's the day?
Don't be in Rashad business. And I'm going to have to get on the microphone and say, don't be in Rashad business.
Where's that?
That's Rashad's business. And I don't have nothing to do with you.
But anyway.
It don't got nothing to do with you.
I haven't really, the milestones that you think about in your life, move it. The milestones that you think about happening in your life that are regular things that are supposed to occur haven't happened for me yet. And my dad isn't here. So I have to swallow that, and that's been a part of my healing process. With Laurel, I know you're going to speak on your own situation, but it's like, getting married. She just had a son, our nephew. It's like,
don't tell my business. I want to tell the people. I just had a baby. He's 3 months old.
But it hurts. It's something that, every time you celebrate a win and something good happens, almost immediately after you're like, dang.
Right.
It's going to be bittersweet like that, I think, for the rest of my days. But you hope that as you begin to heal, it gets a little bit easier to
I think part of the art of resilience, too, is also keeping the eternal perspective. And that's something that I always, really tell myself, because when you get into the flesh, your flesh kind of makes you be like, dang, I miss him. Dang, I wish that he were here, and those type of things, which is a normal human feeling because it's human nature. Right. But that's where the eternal perspective comes in, because if you're looking at it from that perspective, you're like, okay, this person's spirit is always with me. They're always watching over me. When you think about, okay, I want to go to heaven. My dad is somewhere that I want to go to. I want to, that's what we aim to achieve. When we leave this life, we want to live on in heaven and worship God eternally. So when I think about that, I'm like, man, my dude made it in. He made it in the pearly gates. Like, that's something, it makes me want to celebrate.
He's talking Martin Luther King head off.
I'm talking about him, Malcolm, and MLK. They like, Big Kev. I'm finna go to my mansion on the hill.
I had a dream that you could go sit over there.
Big Kev, I'm gonna go to the mansion on the hill, and I'm gonna be back.
Right.
And we can resume this tomorrow.
I'll be right back.
But yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah, I feel like that it makes you want to celebrate. Like, yo, I'm so happy for you. You know, and we gonna move on because I want to get to, you know, but I just think about the actual day that he passed away. I was actually there, and everybody else came the next day. So I was actually in Rhode Island, and I remember him being in my grandmother's house. He had already passed. He had passed right before I landed, unfortunately. And I remember when I looked at him, I just kept saying to him, "I'm so happy for you." Like, that's all I could say. I was repeating it over and over again, and I was just looking at him, and like tears were just dropping on his face. But I think
that's like a profound perspective to have right after that. I don't think I would say that. I'd be like, Daddy, why? why? I'm so happy for you.
I mean, it was, but that's the thing.
That's how God
I felt
works
like
too.
the Holy Spirit took over my body and took over my mind, because my response was not what I thought it would be.
Right.
I felt, well, first of all, when I walked in the house, I felt like I almost passed out. My mom caught me. Shout out to my mom, is the greatest. She caught me. She's the GOAT, because nobody else in the house was checking for me. And I'm gonna make this funny, but it wasn't funny at the time. But I was like, there was a nurse in the house, and I hope you're watching. I hope you're listening to this.
Lord,
I hope you're listening. But it was a nurse there from hospice, and when I was about to fall down, she pushed me off of her and was like, who is this falling? Like, it was like that. It wasn't like anybody had any kind of compassion for how she pushed me. Like, she was like, get off me. No lie, she looked so disturbed that I felt.
Identify yourself right now.
Yeah, she needs to log into the comments and into the chat and she needs to take account for what happened. But she pushed me or whatever, and my mom caught me, and she was like holding me up. She was like, Laurel, it's okay. She's like, I'm right here. I'm holding you. Her and my aunt Kim's mom, my cousin Kim, her mom is the greatest as well. I love her so much. My auntie Nat, and they both were like holding me up. And so finally, I went in the room to see him, and I just remember telling him, like, I was like, yo, I'm so happy for you. And I was saying it in tears and, like, you know, incredibly emotional, but I was genuinely like, man, this man spent 55 years on earth talking about how it was important to get to heaven and how that was the ultimate goal, to touch lives and then go on to heaven, and then to actually go to heaven. I know he's in heaven, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I just felt like, yo, I'm so happy for you, and I want to get to that place and see you again. And I didn't expect to have that type of reaction either, but I do. And whenever I get heavy hearted, I often just take a moment and I sit and I'm like, you know what? I say it out loud. I'm like, Dad, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. I'm grateful to have experienced you. You know, it's like Nipsey Hussle says, like, you know, we get to experience people. We experience people, and then they move on to another life. So anyway,
well, I want to be experienced for eternity, because let me tell you something.
You want us to put you on an urn or something?
No, but you can.
Don't put me no urn,
You can
baby.
embalm me.
Huh?
You can embalm me.
And stuff you have you stuffed?
Yeah.
It's giving ignorance. It's giving ignorant.
My relationship with God is intact, and I'm very spiritual. But the concept of death to me, it's something that my brain can't compute.
Yeah,
like,
same.
I just can't. And I went through. That's the whole reason why, going back to my MRI. Okay, that's the reason why I was getting an MRI on my brain last year, because I started to develop such an anxiety about death and my own like demise, that any small thing,
demise,
your inevitable
dirt nap.
I developed such an anxiety about it, like PTSD. That, y'all, I'm telling you, every little thing that was wrong with me, I was going to the emergency room, and I was going. I had a neurologist. I had an orthopedic surgeon.
Hypochondriac.
And literally, my neurologist, she came in and closed the door, and she handed me a paper saying that I needed therapy. Yeah, and told me that she was like, you know, you're from the passing of your dad, you have PTSD. She was like, you've come to me 7 times in the past month. And she's like, I'm neurology. She's probably thinking like, there's real people that have
I'm trying not to laugh,
stuff going on. And you've come in this office 7 times.
And you're running up the insurance bill.
And you paid for an $857 MRI that was not covered. There was nothing happening.
Not that it wasn't covered. You have
I'm not getting coverage for this.
She was really coming in there saying, ma'am.
She was trying to show me all
the bill.
She had a paper showing me all the times I came in, what we discussed.
It's accumulated.
And so she suggested that I go to therapy because she was saying, like, it's a real thing. Like, people who experience something like this, and she was like, you know, the fact that he died so quickly after you guys found out, now I'm like, what if I don't get this check? And then next thing you know,
I was
tomorrow I'm gone because I had a lump on my finger and, you know, it was trichomoniasis or whatever. And I never got a check. Green gang. And I never got a check and now I'm gone. So it really, for like a year, I was in somebody's doctor's office almost every week.
Yeah,
every other day
for sure.
And that's like the effects, the unknown effects of like grief and how like your body tries to self-preserve. And for me, that's what I was doing. And it's like, okay, I'm really traumatized by what happened, and it made death so in your face. Everybody knows, like, you know you're gonna have to die in theory, but now like it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to die. Look at my fingers finna be going. My eyeball finna be decaying.
It's really,
you know what I'm saying? And you just start.
You have no coverage.
You have no coverage.
The bill is.
You got no life
insurance.
You got no life. It just made it so real, and it was very hard to deal with. And you know, I used to tell my boyfriend when we first started dating. We dated right after my dad passed. And I was telling him, like, you know, it's hard for me to even look at you and know that, like, one day, like, you're going to be dead. And I'm going to be dead.
All right, this is getting heavy. It's getting heavy.
Okay, I'm done.
It's getting too heavy. It's a lot of necking and tacking about. So, yes. With that being said, let's transition real quick to something a little lighter. Well, I'll add in here, shameless plug in Jesus' name. I wrote a book during this time, really after my dad passed, but it was published in 2020 during quarantine. Quarantine was hard, I know, for a lot of people that had lost loved ones and to have to sit in that solitude. But anyway, I wrote a book. It's called If Grief Could Talk. It's on Amazon. It is a collection of poems just speaking from the heart and trying to verbalize what it means to be going through grief. It's called If Grief Could Talk. Type it right in on Amazon. You can get it today. Share it with a family member, friend, gift it to someone. But it's truly from my heart. It was something that I would wake up and just write in the middle of the night if I couldn't sleep. And just put words to such a heavy feeling. So go check that out. Let me know what you think. Make sure you're following each of us on Instagram so you can, you know, converse with us about this episode and every episode. And I want to transition into the art of gratitude because that's a little bit more lighthearted, and it just speaks to what we're grateful for in this space and in this season. And I'll first start by saying that I'm very grateful for my community of friends from FAMU, Florida A&M University, because during that time and still they supported our family tremendously. And I remember putting up a social media post and saying, hey, we just moved into this house, we're trying to bring our dad home from the hospital, we need helping hands for people to come paint and help us just get the house ready for him. We actually did his room very nice. I'll show some photos and clips from that. And people came from all over to help us paint and do the floors, hang stuff up, move his hospital bed in because we had to put him in the hospital bed. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for community and network. I'm also incredibly grateful for, like I said before, our mom, first and foremost, Rosemary Oliveira, because she did not get her flowers throughout this whole thing. And she was discredited for the things that she did to save my dad's life, or to preserve it for what it was, by finding out what was going on with him, advocating for him while he was in the hospital. Real quick, not to get off topic, but when my dad first got in the hospital, he had a roommate who was an older gentleman
who was pooping
on himself,
trying to punish the nurses.
Yes, he was so mad because the nurses wouldn't respond to him like right when he wanted to, so he would intentionally poop on himself, and my dad, like, the whole room would be smelling up. And we would come visit to see my dad, and the man would be yelling and stuff. And so my mom stepped in and was like, hey, he needs his own room. This is a very stressful thing that he's dealing with, and this man is adding to the stress. Oh my God. And it needs to be shut down. That man was
suffering with mental illness.
Yes, it was too much. But it was just things like that where she really stepped in and made sure that he was good. Even getting the house, she got the house. She was working all day long and would come home and bathe my dad and make sure that he had food and different things like that.
His entire hospital stay, my mom went there every
day. And then if he wanted something, like one day he was like, I really want oxtails, and my mom went home. She went and got oxtails. You know, oxtails is expensive. First of all, let's start
$9.99 a pound.
Okay, now they went up to $13 a pound
at the farmers market.
$13 a pound.
No,
$13 a pound. So anyway, he wanted that. And my mom would like cook it and bring it for him and stuff. So I just want to say, oxtails is $13 a pound.
And I don't know. Rashad's like, wow.
Whoever we need to talk to about that. It's giving inflation. Yeah. And I'm here to say.
Are they running out of oxes?
Excuse me?
Is there a shortage? Is there a shortage?
Is it an ox shortage?
I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know, but anyway, so what's your art of gratitude? Like, who would you
art of gratitude,
or what would you say?
Just helping us get to this point, going back to like the whole time when Dad was passing, all of our friends that stepped in financially to help get our siblings to the funeral.
Oh my God, yes.
We had so many people that donated. One of my coworkers, Big Tigger, sent a lot of money for us to make sure that our other siblings were able to make it to Rhode Island. It was just a super tough time. I'm also gracious and have a lot of thanks to give to our dad's mentee. His name is Solomon.
Oh my God, yes.
Who really stepped in. Like I said, it's nothing but girls. So we needed like some men on deck and some hands on deck, and he always stepped in if we ever needed him. He never hesitated. So thank you, Solomon, for the part you played in my dad's life.
Yes,
is giving him like that son figure that he always kind of wanted, but then when it really mattered, you didn't step away or shy away from like the responsibilities where we needed help. And I'm just grateful to God for his grace and giving us a spirit of like we said, of resilience and not giving up so easily on things, and knowing that his grace is going to carry us further and further and get us through. We're still in the middle of the grief process, so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for us coming back together and
me too,
making a decision and saying that we're gonna, not only for Dad but for us too. Getting back to doing something that we love in honor of him. And so
our listeners, I want to say I'm grateful to our listeners because you guys have
y'all were still streaming the first season, and that was like our last episode was December of 2017,
and just pushing us and being like, hey, when's the episodes coming back out? When are the episodes coming back out? When are we gonna hear you guys again? That really means a lot. And it really motivated us to really, do it. Shout out to our original producer, Slim, who is blowing up, by the way.
Slim still helps, too, because when we decided we wanted to, start over and go ahead with season 2, anytime I reached out to him for any type of advice, I needed help with the setup, I needed, help with the hard drive, whatever I needed. Even though his career is blossoming and he doesn't really have the time and the availability to help us as much as he did before, I know that if he had the time, he would. So I'm super grateful to Slim and Kevin, because Kevin was our little engineer too.
Shout out to the broski Rashad, who helped us get the setup started. That's her man, but we're gonna get into it on the next one. And shout out to my husband, Greg Sherman, because he really be down for me.
The two closest people in our lives.
Yes,
the support. We
buy my equipment and stuff.
We both dealt with situations where you don't get that type of support from the person that you're with. So
and we'll get into that.
The freedom to be able to blossom is definitely something that we're both grateful for.
Well, we just want to say the art of resilience. Whatever you're going through, you can bounce back from it. To be resilient means that you always find the strength to pull yourself up, and that strength can come from anyone and anywhere, but we are sitting here as living, breathing examples that You can be resilient, and you can get back to your dreams, get back to you, get back to the things that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And don't let anything dim your light and stop you from what you know that you can accomplish, no matter if it's as traumatizing as sickness and death. It does not have to define the rest of your life.
Yep.
And you don't have to feel like I'm never going to get back to me. You are. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I'll say, like my therapist told me, first of all, get in therapy if you need it.
Yeah.
And then also,
or you can go see Iyanla Vanzant when she performs at the Fox, because that really helps.
And watch it. Iyanla really helps.
Iyanla really helps me.
Iyanla be getting
and Dr. Phil.
on my watch.
Dr. Phil does it too.
Dr. Phil
and Judge Judy.
Dr. Phil be under some real scrutiny.
Judge Judy really does it for me.
Judy Shala, she
Shineblin. Shineblin.
Judge Judy, this is your biggest fan right here. She watched Judge Judy like Judge. This is like her 100th season, and she really she be like, shut your mouth, I don't want to hear it.
She makes $900 million a year.
What?
Yep.
No, she don't. Off the TV?
I swear to God, look it up.
900 million a year? But she's been on forever. So anyways, closing thoughts.
Why die now? You have plenty time to die later.
What? No. That is no. What?
That means don't kill yourself off from your dreams now while you're still alive. You have plenty of time to die later. You know, it's the art of resilience. You have to keep pushing on through the trials and tribulations of life, and don't let it kill you while you're still here.
I don't like that.
Why die now? You have plenty of time to die later.
I don't like that. Where you pick that up from? You didn't do neck and tech. Anyway, guys, season 2 is out here, and we are going to be hitting you with episodes every single week. So make sure that you are
every Thursday, guys. Be on the lookout.
Yes, make sure you're subscribed
to Art of the Funny Girl podcast.
Yes, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Justtlo, 2 T's on the just for me, and
Lindsay __ Rayna. Lindsay with an AY, not an
EY.
It's 2 underscore.
We need to change that. Would it be like at the Lindsay Rayna?
Listen, I'm not.
Or at
__. We also have a YouTube channel, guys. So if you're either you're listening to
you
us
can watch
in your car,
us,
or you can watch us, you know, see what we look like.
All right, Olivera out. Yay! Yay! Yay!